Today I'm going to be talking about my favorite mechanism in the cooperative cave exploration, cave diving game Terra, which was introduced to me this past weekend by two guests at my game day on Saturday, Dylan and Terra from Kansas. Not Kansas City, somewhere in Kansas. So I had a really good time playing this game. I like cooperative games. I'm working on a cooperative exploration game, so I wanted to see what this designer did with Terra, and I ended up having a good time. And there were a few clever mechanisms that I want to mention. And here's a little. I don't have the game. They brought the game, but here's a little picture of what the game board or the game table ends up looking like, because it's a tile placement game where you were trying to enter a cave. That's the easy part. You enter the cave at the beginning, and then you were trying to build out this cave. Kind of like cooperative Carcassonne in a way, to find the exit, which is at the bottom of this big stack of tiles. It's somewhere in the bottom 6 tiles of this big stack of tiles. So there are a few interesting things that happen in this game that I wanted to mention really briefly. One is, in relation to this photo itself, I really like in this game how it's very easy and pretty much important to split up at certain times to explore different parts of the cave and to come back together. The different parts of the cave don't really matter all that much. Basically, the idea is you are trying to get as many tiles out as possible because you have to dig through this big pile of tiles to get to the exit tile at the bottom of the stack. So it's important for players to split up and explore different areas. At the same time, if you split up, you can't help out each other as much. And at certain times you will need help, and near the end of the game you will have to come back together to all exit the cave, or as many people as possible can exit the cave. So I really like that there's this interesting decision space of, okay, which direction do I go? And you are empowered to go your own direction. There is very little quarterbacking in this game because you can go do your own thing. If you want to, you can, and you probably should in this game. You are encouraged to do that. But at the same time, you don't want to go too far away to the point that you can't run back and help your other players if need be, or get their help if need be. So I really like that. The second thing I wanted to mention is, and this is probably my favorite mechanism, is the exertion mechanism. In Terra, you normally take 2 actions on your turn. There's a little action menu that you choose from, 2 actions on your turn. But on any given turn, if you want to, you can exert. And what that means is you get to roll a die, and if the die shows a 1 through a 3, you lose a life. If it shows 4 through 6, you don't lose a life. And either way, no matter what you roll, you get to take an extra action. So you can do that once per turn. So instead of taking 2 actions, you can take 3 actions with the risk of maybe losing some health. I like everything about this. I like the choice to push yourself a little bit. At certain times in the game, you'll need to push. I had a character that had 5 life instead of 3 life from the beginning of the game. So even from very early on, I was exerting just to kind of push ahead a little bit. I like that you get to do the action no matter what. You're not chancing the action itself. You're chancing whether or not it will damage you, which I really, really like that twist. I've definitely played some other cooperative games where you risk something and don't get anything for that risk. And here in Terra, you risk something and that is life, but no matter what, you have exerted yourself. You get to do the thing that you exerted yourself to do. I love this mechanism. Really, really like it. The last thing I want to mention about Terra is, like in many cooperative games, there is an event deck of sorts, and Terra uses the method where instead of doing it after every player's turn, you draw a card at the end of every round. So after each player has taken a turn, you draw an event card and something happens. Almost always something bad happens. As you're exploring the cave, you'll encounter a bunch of different types of tiles. So you can see like this green tile here that's full of gas, or it could be full of gas. There are water tiles that could be full of water. There are horror tiles that could have horrors in them. And I'm saying it this way because when you discover the tile, nothing happens immediately. I really like this. You discover it, you see what's there, you often choose whether or not you want to end your turn on that tile or not. And then the risk is, when you draw a card, that card may activate all tiles of that type. So for example, the gas tiles, there's no gas on this tile, unless we draw the gas card. And then all of a sudden they all fill up with gas, and that becomes a big problem. So I really, really like this separation between the tile discovery, tile placement, what's on those tiles, and when those tiles are actually activated, when the bad things are activated. I really, really like that separation, because that way you actually have some choice in the matter of whether or not how you're going to be impacted by these bad things that happen. Yeah, that's all these things I really, really like about this as a cooperative game. I would absolutely play it again for those mechanisms. The exertion, the way the events work, and the freedom to split up and the necessity to come back together at certain times. If this reminds you of any other cooperative games that you want to discuss in the comments, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Or if you have other favorite mechanisms in Subterra, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that as well. Thanks.